does a New York court typically review and approve a stipulation of settlement agreement in a divorce case? What factors do they consider?
For the most part, the agreement once it is executed is pretty much a rubber stamp from the court. The only thing the court is looking to do is make sure that all of the elements are addressed. For instance, I've seen some agreements come back and the court says, oops, you forgot to, and not me, of course, usually when opposing counsel drafts an agreement, they forget to address, like what happens with medical insurance, who's covering the child or children. And then they just want that to be specified either in an addendum to the agreement or in affidavits or whatever. That's just one example. There could be others where the court feels that there's just elements that were not addressed that should be addressed as part of a standard settlement agreement. But the court by law cannot rewrite an agreement. So the court is not there to scrutinize the agreement and say, well, they've agreed on X, Y, and Z. I don't think that's in the best interests of the children, for custody and visitation. That's not for the court to say. Because they would be overstepping their bounds at that point. They also would take a look at the agreement and see whether it's, quote unquote, against public policy or sharply against a statute. As but one of many examples, you are supposed to state in your agreements that child support is modifiable once maintenance terminates. So if the agreement does not say that, the court can step in and say, wait a second, you do have to put that into your agreement. Otherwise, the court really is not supposed to sign off on a judgment incorporating an agreement that does not comport with the law. That's just one of several examples. Certainly not on cases that I've done. But I've seen cases that come in where parties do not do a proper certificate of acknowledgement on their cases or their agreements. And if that's the case, then the court can step in and say, look, I can't sign off on a judgment incorporating this agreement if it was not done correctly. So certainly you want to make sure that your attorneys know what they're doing and that they've done this before and gotten agreements signed before. And they're not just dabbling in divorce law, and mostly they're a personal injury attorney that doesn't really know what they're doing when it comes to divorce settlements. So you really want to be careful. But like I said, for the most part, it's a rubber stamp.